Hello everyone and welcome to V8 Online's coverage of the Monday night official V8 Supercar series. Tonight plays host to the most iconic circuit of them all and as a track every driver in this field will be well and truly up to speed on after last night's spectacular race. It's the Mount Panorama circuit and this is going to be one heck of a spectacle. Joining me tonight in the commentary booth is a man who knows what it takes to get one of these 650 horsepower monsters around here pretty well, Mr. Jared Filsell. Jared, this should be a fantastic race tonight.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Big field by the looks. A lot of guys who raced last night have signed up, so should be a very competitive field. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, very competitive field indeed, and one of the highest strength of fields we've seen in quite some time, and got a lot of the big names, like you said, out there with the likes of McMullen, Rogers, Emerson, Burden, and even our own commentator, Cameron Dance, is in this field as well. So all the familiar names are here, and they're all tackling the mountain at the moment, trying to punch out some qualifying laps. And at the moment, it is Jake Burden on the top of the timesheets, but there's a lot of drivers looking to knock him off.
As you say, Rogers P1 by 6/10 of a second. Alien fast, as usual, but pretty hot track in comparison to last night's race. So it's be as easy. So we're looking forward to it here tonight.
And a big move there is actually Adam Highland moving up to third, so very nice lap from him, although he does get bumped down to fourth as Dane Warren moves onto the front row of the grid alongside Rogers, who had a very dominant display on the weekend, but Warren won't be letting him go too easy, and he'll be looking for a pretty big challenge in the race, but for now, he has one more attempt around the mountain, 6.2 kilometers, and he'll be making the most of it as he starts this lap, but all the drivers beginning to file in laps. Hopefully we'll see everyone getting a lap in, but so far we're seeing a pretty close field.
Yeah, 2 minutes 30 remaining in quali, so should be starting your second lap about now. If not, as Dane's made a mistake there, so his qualifying done.
So we've just got our eyes at the moment on Brady Myers as he comes through the chase. Very high speed commitment place there, on the brakes as hard as he possibly can, clipped the inside curb. He has not set a qualifying lap at the moment, and it doesn't look like he'll be getting a second lap in either. So for Brady Myers, for Progression Racing Australia, a team that is on the up, has some very good form at the moment, this is going to be a very crucial lap. Rounds the final corner, nice exit. What are the times going to say? It's going to be a 2:04.2, and that's good enough for fifth on the grid.
Clutch lap time, that one for Brady. Wouldn't be ideal starting last this big 30 car field. I think it is 31 cars.
Yeah, a lot of field, but at the moment we've got Corey Preston on screen in that Vodafone car, and he's onto a 2:05.0, so that's an improvement there for him, but it's only going to be 16th on the grid, and I think he might be a little bit disappointed with that. You'd think he would normally be a bit further up on the grid. Sam Blacklock there moving on to 11th as well, so all the time is beginning to cycle in now, as we have Chris Coxhead also coming across the line to finish his lap time. He improves by 2/10, moves up 4 positions with that as well, so lots of improvements happening on these second laps for drivers.
Yeah, as Rogers improves by 1/10 as well, so he stretches that margin out even more.
So here comes Kurt Stenberg. Can he continue this form? And he does. And he goes for the smallest improvement you could ever possibly see. Stays P13. And that's still a very, very quick lap time. As we've seen so many drivers do so many laps over the weekend. And they're all very familiar with this circuit. But one driver who didn't get a whole heap of practice because he was up in the commentary booth was Mr. Cameron Dance. And he is on his lap now. And with only 18 seconds on the clock, he's playing with fire to get this lap in, but he will get it counted as he gets the car turned in very nicely into the final corner and comes across the line. His one and only lap is a 2:05.6. That's 22nd on the grid.
Clutch lap time there for Cam, so everyone in the field has set a time. Good to see.
Yep, just what we like to see. So we'll run you through our grid for what is going to be a very hectic 19 laps up the Mount Panorama circuit. And as it was on Sunday, Josh Rogers is going to be leading the field away on pole position with Dane Warren right behind him. Jake Burton and Adam Hyland share the second row of the grid with Brady Myers and Brad Ryan in 5th and 6th. David Lord and Luke Harvey will be following suit as Jason Bentz and Mark Pickett round out your top 10.
As we have Marlon McMullen, car number 1 in the field, so highest iRating, in 11th. Sam Blacklock, 12th. Riley Blythe, 13th. Kurt Stenberg, 14th. Daniel Williams, 15th. Chris Coxhead, 16th. John Emerson, 17th. He definitely won't finish there. Hopefully not. Corey Preston in 18th. Brian Borg, 19th. Thomas Hinds, the fellow commentator, in 20th.
And from 21st down to 32nd in this very, very packed field, we have Michael Taliancic, Cam Dance, Jason Quire, Mario Vlasic, Christopher Bursford, Zach Baker, Chris D'Angelo, Abfradi Putra, Greg Sharp, Jose Rahman Boyler, who we've seen in many broadcasts lately, Tim Weston, and coming in last on the grid, but looking forward to moving through the field, will be Robert Plumley, as we now focus our attention as the drivers get ready for 19 laps of the Bathurst circuit. You'd think they'd be sick of this place by now, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I definitely am. That's why I didn't sign up for the race tonight. I'm still fried in the head.
So these drivers will be knowing what they're doing to get these cars off the line, and they'll all be staring down the barrel of turn 1, hell corner, 90 degrees, tough braking on a fast lap, even harder on cold tyres on the first lap. So the time is up to be gridding up, and we're expecting the cars to be kicking off at any second to get this second round of the Monday night official series underway. Green flag in the air, and it's a good start from Josh Rogers on pole, and it looks pretty even with Dane Warren looking to follow into second.
Pretty clean start there in the back of the pack. Thought I saw someone jump early. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Just having a look at all these cars barrel down Mountain Straight here. Unbelievable. A lot of jostling back there. Dane's applying a lot of pressure to Rogers here. Actually going to have a look here. Oh, a little bit of contact.
Oh, big contact. Rogers out in the weeds, and it's going to dump a bunch of spots. So
like
Warren
Dane's redressing that position there.
He did take the lead, but doing the smart thing, letting it go. So Jake Burton's been given the gift of his life, and he now leads the field with Rogers in second, but there might potentially be a little bit of damage to Rogers there, but that is not the start he would have wanted.
With David Lord and Mark Pickett side by side. David slots back in. Now he's side by side here with Marlon McMullen, I think it is.
Oh, this is
through metal grate.
Side by side.
Don't want to be side by side through it. It's going to cause a big choke point. He looks like he's got damage there. Quite heavy damage as well.
Yeah, that rear quarter is not looking like it's just out of the factory, so David Lord is found a bit of wars on the first lap and almost finding even more wars.
Very wide.
To the dipper. So, yeah, very wide, like you say, so it's not been the best
a few
lap.
Cars slow through the dipper there. Tim Weston almost puts it in the fence. Very, very lucky to keep it out there.
Yeah, you would know better than most, Jared, just how tough these cars are on cold tyres, and a lot of drivers really struggling to get up and used to these conditions at the moment. But look at the pace of Rogers out front. He has already begun to haul in Jake Bird.
Yeah, I think David Lord's night's going to be quite hard. He's down on top end speed by about 10 kilometres an hour, so makes his night very, very hard.
See Josh Rogers having a big look into that final corner there. So he's already got the afterburners on. He's got the phasers lit, and he is trying to get past Jake Byrne any way he can. And he's looking very racy at the moment. So we'll keep an eye on Rogers, who has managed to pull a big gap back to third at the moment.
Yeah, he's going to have a big dive here, I think. But I don't think Jake will let him have it too easy.
Well, it was good while it lasted. Catch you later, Rogers.
A bit of banter in the chat there as Jake says, see you later.
And there we go, up the inside as easy as you like. Yeah. Burden doesn't make much of a issue on the exit. He's going to go a little bit side by side, but backs out immediately. Rogers replying the compliments on the radio, so lots of respect between those two races, and some good racing happening at the front there. But the field is still very close all throughout, so It's not over yet, as we can actually see quite a bit of a battle pack going on just behind with Riley, Blythe and McMullen, but hearing of a couple of internet issues, Jared.
Yeah, Rogers' quality has dropped, so...
Another close battle actually happening for 4th and 5th is Adam Highland, and he's got his mirrors full at the moment of Brad Ryan, who is all over the gearbox. So Brad Ryan looking very racy at the moment in that TTL Falcon. So we'll see if he can make anything happen down Conrod as he goes into the very difficult Forest Elbow corner. Gets the exit okay, but this could be on for young and old down Conrod.
Definitely no stranger to the V8, Brad Ryan. Obviously had a little bit of a break from their supercar scene, but he looks got a really good run here on Highland, side by side, coming to the chase.
Yeah, and then not alone, Brady Myers and Luke Harvey also having it. So we've got two battles happening at once. You can see there Ryan having to go around the outside there and manages to pull it off with a brilliant move.
Harvey's just run wide there. Thought that'll be a little bit of a slowdown, I think. Gonna lose a few positions here. David Lord is in the pits, so I assume he does have a meatball flag or some sort. We've got Luke Harvey slowing down. Clear that slowdown.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Harvey. He was looking quite racy against Myers, and all of a sudden he's now all the way behind Mark Pickett. So that's a big loss for him. And he's, we all know how quick he is, so he'll be hoping to move forward. But that's a big blow to be that far behind this early.
Corey Preston trying to argue for the position Chris Coxhead here to turn 2. Coxhead thinks better of it.
Corey, one of those drivers that probably qualified a bit lower than we would have expected, so looks like he's already trying to make some moves through the field. So that's good to see, getting lots of good racing throughout this field at the moment. As we're seeing those top guys at the front of the field just beginning to spread out just a little bit, so they've all settled down, got into their rhythm, which is good because it is quite a long race today, and we will be seeing some pit stops in this as well, potentially with fuel limited restrictions in these races, so still plenty to happen at the moment.
Yeah, I think 11 laps maximum on a stint, possibly more, so there will be one stop, definitely. Small pit window though, I think it'll only be about 2 or 3 laps, so see, I think the earlier you pit, the better, so undercut will be king, I think.
So we're actually seeing a bit of a battle happening now with our V8 Online's own, with Cam Dance beginning to haunt the back of Michael Talyancic, who was a very experienced guy in these V8 supercars. Cam is no slouch, as we're seeing issues for Brian Borg as he's all over the back there.
Just made the move on Chris and he's actually run wide there, so they're going to be side by side again. Fortunately, Chris, massive sideways moment there.
Borg thought about having a bit of a run into the final corner after seeing that move, but Chris manages to hold on to the position just, but with a bit of opposite lock there for fair measure. But we're seeing in the background there, John Emerson, he's seeing the advantage here, and he has a look up the inside in the held corner, but gets his nose completely chopped off there by Brian Borg. So getting some feisty racing happening here, and it might still be on for young and old, up Mountain Straight here, but looks like it's all settled down for now. But it might only be lap 4 in the race, but they're playing pretty hard.
A little bit of jostling back in the pack. We've got Jason Quire getting a run on Putra. Looks like he's just going to let him by there. Smart move there. Long race.
So now we're having a bit of a look at Jake Burton, who was leading the race at the end of lap 1, but now has his mirrors full with Dane Warren, who is looking very racy at this stage of the race. Looks like there's a little bit of damage on the front quarter panel of Dane Warren's car, but shouldn't be hurting him too much, and doesn't look like it is because he has fantastic pace at the moment. And Jake Burton, who has fallen away from Rogers at the moment, looks like he might be going one place down pretty soon.
Yeah, looks like he's still got that damage from the lap 1 contact with Rogers, so might be hampered on straight line speed, but these two resume their battle as they were yesterday. Got a really good run here. Chill behind, probably save some fuel. Smart move.
Yep, saw the brake lights there flashing on Warren's car, so he had no interest of going past Jake Burton this early in the race, but we'll see how that goes as McMullen and Harvey having a bit of a scrap. Harvey with another big moment coming through the chase there. He cannot get that car hooked up into these corners, and McMullen is going to take that position away from him. So Harvey continuing to struggle around here a little bit in that Ace Tennis car.
Car looks very good.
So we're actually just
Warren
seeing up front of
side by side with Burton here. Don't want to be in the seat of Warren's car at the moment. Definitely don't want to be on the outside coming up to Griffin's here. Definitely not going to be able to make the move here. Jake holds position.
That was very close under braking there. Those two basically touching mirrors under brakes there. So these two playing with fire already. And that's just allowing Rogers to extend the gap even further. But look at the pace of Warren's car. He is haunting the back of that TTR car.
Jason Bentz has spun at turn 2.
So sadly, look, another case of Bentz in the fence. And that was with Mark Pickett of Evolution Racing Team. Pickett just up the inside there.
Should have been turned around by Pickett as well. It's unfortunate there for Bentz. Pickett's hit the curb on the entry there. Really unsettled the car, and fortunately Bentz nosed it in. Fortunate of him, he had really good pace yesterday for the 1000.
It's unfortunate for him, like you say, very good pace, but this early in the race, that kind of damage and outside of a fuel window, that is pretty much going to be race done for him. So that's a big shame.
Just letting people through down the mountain, I think he's got some significant damage front end.
As we can see, Warren all over the curb there, almost getting hit by Burton at 300 kilometers an hour as we're seeing them go
side by side contact there.
This is great racing from these two. And it looks like Warren has the job done. Burton has no answer for that, but hip and shoulder all the way through the chase. That was fantastic stuff from those two.
Willing Racing on lap 5 out of 19. Luke Harvey off the road at the last corner. Fortunately, I haven't seen what's happened there. He's actually just parked it, so sure what's happening there.
And he's gone to the pits now, so that's officially night done for Luke Harvey. And unsurprisingly,
is in the pits.
Yep,
See significant damage there from when he nosed it in the wall. Looks like Harvey's just pulled off and gaped out, so I'm not sure whether he's got some technical issues on his end.
And as Warren and Burton continue to beat the panels of each other's car, getting so close to the wall there. Look at Brad Ryan in the background of that TTR Falcon. He is closing up hand over fist on these two. And in a matter of laps, maybe even seconds, he's going to be in this battle too. So it's going to be a three-way fight for second as Warren getting so squirrely over the top of Skyline, getting on the curb and almost losing it as he goes down this hill, which is so infamous in Australian motorsport, getting so close to the wall at the dipper. Warren is doing everything he can to pull a gap on Burton because he knows Brad Ryan is coming and quick. And if he doesn't get it out of this soon, it is going to be very difficult.
John Emerson's actually put it in the fence, hearing from the director. Can't actually find him on screen. I think he might have escaped out. If we can get a replay of that, Cut Price Racing replay.
So we're hearing that he has just hit the curb a bit too much, heading down the hill and had a big
understeered wide there and probably broken steering with contact with the wall and more significant contact and gone straight. It's unfortunate for John there.
So he's officially retired from the race, and we've just realised with that issue with Luke Harvey, he was having issues with his brakes, and that is not the thing you want to be having going wrong at the mountain. But One thing that isn't going wrong at the moment is the straight line speed of that Trans-Tasman racing car of Jake Burton, so quick up Mountain Straight, and he's having a look up the inside of Dane Warren into the second
Might be able to
corner.
hold it here. We side by side into the cutting. This is going to be
Sketchy,
I
I think is the word for it. Very sketchy.
Warren's got massive damage to the front end of his car. He's just scraping the walls everywhere. I'm not sure if it's net code or not, but his straight line speed will be horrendous.
Oh, that is just millimeter stuff there as he goes over the crest there, and Jake Burton looking very racy now, but Brad Ryan ever so slightly closer. We're hearing of another car in the fence.
Sam Blacklock is loose. Looks like he's broken steering as well. Gone in at the cutting, actually. Daniel Williams is, it's almost a Murphy Ambrose one there, but Sam's just gone straight in by himself, fortunately. Probably a bit of mirror driving there.
And he's having to get out of the way out of a very awkward place. People having to cut grass out of the dipper, so very awkward trying to let people pass. But Sam Blacklock will be out of this race. Steering damage too great to that Apex Rising Stars Trans-Tasman racing car, so that's a shame for him.
And
but
Daniel Williams as well. His car had massive damage there, unfortunately. Not sure what happened there with Sam's car. He hit the wall and it just went hard left. Unfortunately, Daniel had nowhere to go.
Might be another case of the mountain claiming victims already. As Riley Blythe puts a nice move on McMullen, but McMullen not looking like it's quite over yet. And Blythe having to defend the inside for all of his life as McMullen gives it a shot around the outside, potentially setting up for a crossover on the front straight, getting a little bit loose, and that's going to allow Blythe to run away ever so slightly, but McMullen does not want to give up yet.
Having to dive at turn one there. Oh, he's just fed him off a little bit there, I think. Tiny little bit of contact, but I think it's ERT Falcon. Very good straight line speed in yesterday's race, so he should be able to hold position on the inside here. I think Marlon will be able to do anything with it because he'll be on the outside.
Very brave on the brakes though, and he puts up a good fight. Blythe on the inside will get that done. Cuts across the nose as early as he possibly can to cover any possible move from McMullen. Job done, but that was not made easy from Marlon there.
Marlon just gives him a little bit of a tap on the exit of the cutting there. A little bit of rattle. We missed a pass before with Cam Dance with a move on Mike Taliancic into the chase. Quite willing. Jumped over the curb, almost contact, but a very good move around the outside. So nice work from Cam there. Got a cut price racing replay on that one. Super close contact.
Whilst you guys are having a look at that replay, I've actually just noticed we've had another victim of the Mount Panorama walls, and our next victim is the Progression Racing Australian car of Brady Myers, who has clipped the wall at the dipper. And I was about to comment on how nice of a battle we're about to form up with Highland, Myers and Pickett, but now it is Myers falling back and having to defend for his life against Mark Pickett, who is all over the back of him in that, dare I say, horrendously coloured ERT car. Very bright, hard to miss it. And unfortunately for Myers, he's not going to be missing it. Having a look into the final corner, thinks better of it. But Brady Myers is suffering already. You can see how far away Highland has pulled away.
To the first of the pitters, Jake Burton first in. So he's looking for the undercut benefits to obviously get back in front of Dane Warren. We've got Pickett all over the back of Myers here. I think he might get them done. Myers will have pretty bad straight line speed with that damage, but he's defending here. Lime green ERT Commodore, can't miss it. Oh, he's in the grass and he's around.
Contact.
Massive contact with the wall. That's a bit of a weird one then.
It's been very dangerous for Myers, but gets it turned around, gathered up, but
he might have squeezed Pickett a bit there, and he just didn't expect it, and unfortunately it's put him in the grass, and unfortunately, passenger moment there. I think Myers come across a little bit on Pickett there and kind of reacted, but he was already in the grass. So it's unfortunate there, a bit of a weird one. both contributing. So racing incident, in my opinion.
As we're seeing that obviously Myers with a lot of damage and Pickett with a bit of damage too, so neither of them have got away with that entirely, but regardless, still race on as we still have over 10 laps to go in this race and still plenty to play for, especially with pit stops. Potentially get that car fixed a little bit and you'll be all good to go for the rest of the race.
Keeping an eye on Rogers and Warren here. Dare say we'll see them both in the pit lane this lap. Maybe Rogers might extend it out one lap. Takes a lot of curb at the chase there. Massive amounts of curb. Not optimal, but he's definitely going to go along to this extra lap here.
Keep an eye on Warren, see what he does, and he's going to follow suit, as does Brad Ryan. So no one's been quite as brave as Jake Burton was on that previous lap. So a lot of different strategies being played out already, and we're seeing McMullen and Stenny both diving into the pits now. So we are seeing some strategies being played, but not all of them so far. But lots of commitment there from a lot of cars there, as we're seeing Preston, I believe, in the pits as well. So a lot of guys pulling the strategy call now. And as I suspected, a few drivers such as Brady Myers diving into the pits to get repairs done as well. But
a lot of people in pit lane now. I think Burton might be going for the odd strategy of taking a punt and saving a little bit of fuel, because he was behind Dane for a little bit, so he would have saved a tiny bit of fuel. So he's playing the long game strategy to get track position on Dane. So keep an eye on that. We've got in the background there, Jose Buller off the road at the first corner there, unfortunately. He's dropped a wheel. Light contact with the wall there. Tank slap a moment. He's definitely made contact with the wall there.
Oh, that was a big hit to the rear quarter as well. So wouldn't be surprised if that rear tyre is just a little bit towed out, but a surprisingly easy thing to do, just running out onto the grass ever so slightly through Hell Corner, and the car just bursts into wheel spin, and there's not much you can do in that situation. So unfortunately for Jose Raman Boiler, a bit of damage, but pace still looks okay, and he'll continue on to fight for another day, which is what we like to see.
Marlon's actually ahead of Riley Blythe now. I'm not sure whether that was made through the pit lane or not. So, yeah. So Marlon, short fill possibly, or saved a bit in that first stint behind. So, once again, strategy is king.
And speaking of strategy is king, Rogers going to stay out for another lap. So he's being extra dangerous as Warren and Ryan now dive into the pits. So our front runners really beginning to make some strategy calls now, but Rogers doing something no one else is doing so far.
Yeah, I think he's got the pace to do whatever he wants, really. So he can go as long as he likes. Might be a bit close when he comes out of pit lane, but we'll drive away.
As Highland and Pickett also dive into the pits, and Pickett was all kinds of aggressive there, trying to make a run through there.
Dane in the box. Keeping an eye on Burton here. It's going to be pretty close, I'd say. My tip is Burton will pip him slightly. Dane dropping now, actually. It's going to be very close up and straight.
Warren might have the cover of him, and Burton's going to slot into effective P number 3, so
very close with Brad Ryan here.
Just about as they were before the pit stops, but potentially Warren actually extending that gap out even further ahead of Burton. So good stop from him. As we've just lost Chris D'Angelo from our timing screen, so that actually happened whilst he was in these pit stalls. So potentially just called it quits, or potentially a net drama as well. So Chris D'Angelo with some kind of issue there. Bit of a weird one for him, but that's unfortunate because he was doing all right in that car, but sometimes these things happen and real life gets in the way. We'll never know, but for now, all eyes will be on Rogers, whether he does in fact pit on this lap and how much of a gap he has. If he has the fuel save quite a lot on this lap, but with a 5-second lead before the pit stops, he should be okay, but there is a bit of damage to the end of that car, so maybe playing a bit dangerous with the car on this lap, but looks like he's making it work.
Definitely be in pit lane this lap, impossible to go an extra. So he does have a little bit of rear end damage there, but I'm not Not sure where that's been sustained. Could be a little bit of netcode.
So as he dives into the pits, Warren, Ryan, and all the rest of the train are just heading down Conrod now. So still got lots of time for him. So it does look like he'll be pretty safe for that one. But still a few battles heading down as we're actually seeing that Brad Ryan continuing to close in on Jake Burton. So Burton, he's been out of the pits for a bit longer. He should be used to the track conditions, but he's not having life made easy from the car behind.
Yeah, I just went back and had a look at Rogers throughout that last lap there, and he's actually had a big tank slapper up turn 2 and possibly made netcode contact with the wall, so almost fallen victim to a bit of, not sure what would you call that, a little bit of a drift session. So, Ryan on board at the moment. Very close to Jake Burton. Couldn't really call him a has-been because he's never won anything, I don't think. But old school driver back from the old car, so it's good to see him back.
As we've seen,
Highland
McMullen actually
made the move on Highland previous lap.
So we get a replay of that on screen for you guys now. Move made at the chase, and looked like a pretty aggressive move there as they went side by side through one of the scariest parts you'd possibly want to go in Australian motorsport. But McMullen made the move stick and was very good on the brakes and pulled it off perfectly. That's about as textbook as you could possibly have through there.
A little bit of cooperation from Highland. I don't think he was fighting too hard for that. Corey Preston all over the back of Kurt Stenberg here in this Apex Replicas TTR Commodore. Corey in a 2012 inspired 888 Vodafone livery. A little bit of left-hand front damage on his car as well. I'm not sure whether we're all seeing this. Could be a bit of netcode.
Yep, so a bit of damage on his car there. So
Got a good draft here.
Had to fight his way through the field a bit, but he's going to fight his way up one more position potentially as he's getting all kinds of racing behind the Apex Rising Stars car of Kurt Stenberg. So Preston putting in some big work at the moment, making some moves stick. As
Pulled out of it a little bit.
Brad Ryan throwing up the inside into turn 1. Ooh. Jake Burton makes door-to-door contact with him.
Hip and shouldered him off at turn 1 there. Don't think Burton will be too happy about that.
So lots of hip and shoulder there.
He's not too happy about that, I don't think. So, as predicted, Burton probably stretched it one lap too early, so he might have to save a tiny bit of fuel. If he can keep up with Brad Ryan here, he might be able to save that fuel and be able to attack later on. So the closer he gets, the better.
As up the hill once more, we're getting Stenberg and Preston continuing to fight it out. As Preston trying to close onto the back of Stenny's car, but Stenny looks very, very quick in all the places that Preston needs to be to make a pass actually happen, but it's just not happening, and Stenny's actually pulling out quite a lead at the moment across the top of the hill, so looks like that battle might dissolve ever so slightly unless Preston can do something amazing down the terrifying part of the circuit, down the hill, and down all the way through to Forest Elbow, but Stenberg looking very comfortable at the moment.
We got Mike Taliancic all over the back of Thomas Hinz and Cameron Dance here. So I think Mike went long strategy with Rogers. So might have put him back in a little bit of traffic here. So might have backfired. I'm not sure. I haven't really followed this battle closely, but he will have the fresher tyre advantage of these guys by 2 laps. Looking forward to... Mike's got a really good run here too.
Taliancic with all kinds of pace, not quite as much as Rogers, who was just out the fast lap of the race, but Taliancic so quick in a straight line.
Oh, got Hinz right at the inside.
Look at that! So good under the brakes there from Thomas Hinz, and
A bit of
Cam
mirror
Dent
driving
very lucky
there.
to hold onto the position. But now look at Taliancic. He's going to
The
have a crack
outside here.
around the outside, and he's going to fall back and potentially set up a crossover. Couldn't quite do it, so it's all as they were, but not with a bit of panels being bid.
Lost Greg Sharp and Tim Weston from the server. Fortunately lagged out.
So we're seeing Taliancic still not willing to give up at all on the 27 car of Thomas Hinz in that draft once again. And with how the wind is here today at Bathurst, they are going into the headwind. So slipstream upbound straight is very powerful, but not quite enough for Taliancic. But he has put Hinz under some kind of pressure, who slips ever so slightly wide. So Hinz definitely feeling the pressure there from Taliancic just behind. But it's not entirely possible to make a move up to the top of the hill. So he'll continue to fight on despite lighting the rear tyres up out of the cutting.
I think he just needs to feel the mirrors of Hinz here, because it looked like a little bit of mirror driving last lap at the chase there, and quite exciting. So I think Mike just has to bide his time here, put a little bit of pressure on, and hopefully get a move done.
It's almost one of those cases that we all like to see, where the fastest car in the battle pack is at the back, then a slightly faster car in the middle, and Cam Dance, who's struggling for pace a little bit in this middle phase of the race, at the head of the queue. But Hinz not getting an optimal run down through the dipper there, and if Taliancic can hook up the Forest Elbow a fair bit, he might be able to get a run, but it looks like Hinz does get it done pretty well, so might not be a chance yet, but we'll see if Cam Dance is a bit unconfident under the brakes. But we're seeing Pickett now in a battle.
Marlon was half a second faster than Pickett last lap and previous laps as well. So another 4/10 gain last lap. So forward to Marlon making a move here, and Highland as well. Got a bit of a battle pack forming here. Riley very loose in the mid corner there. Lost a bit of time.
Yeah, but I'm not sure it'll be too long till he forms a part of the 4-car battle pack, as Mark Pickett there coming under pressure already from McMullen, who is looking very racy once again. And these two very, very experienced fighters like to race as hard as they possibly can. So this will be a battle to watch out for. This should get pretty interesting, pretty damn quick between these two. So look forward to that. And Adam Highland in the back is no slouch either. So if this continues to form up, this is going to get exciting very quick.
Looks like Highland's pulled in a little bit of time on them already, so Marlon might want to have to get a move on here, otherwise he'll be under attack from Highland. We've got Burton pretty much on the back of Brad Ryan again, so he'll be in draft range, saving a little bit of fuel that he probably needs. So, little battle spice up again.
Yeah, he's closed up a lot in the last few laps, so some big effort from Burton in the previous few laps to close this gap down, which was up to almost a second at one point. But now we're seeing McMullen trying it at Forest Elbow. That is not a place you want to be trying a move. And he didn't get to pull that off, but he will get a second chance to getting past that ERT Commodore, as Pickett having to do some mirror driving, weaving left and right to break that slipstream of McMullen. But the slipstream is too powerful, and McMullen is coming, and it's going to be into the chase, potentially side by side. 285 kilometers an hour. It's absolute war
Pickett
under
very
brakes.
loose under brakes.
So loose under brakes, but
He's
McMullen
just escorted him off a bit there.
This is opening the door for Highland.
Oh, Marlon very loose.
So Highland manages to slip through from McMullen, who was trying so desperately to get past Pickett. As Pickett runs wide into the final corner, he has to do something special through Hell Corner, or Highland is going to get a 2-for-1 deal in this space of one lap. So Highland so good on the brakes, but he does run wide ever so slightly. That's compromised him and potentially allows McMullen to once again have a crack if he can get in the slipstream. Not going to happen, but now Riley Blythe has been allowed into this 4-car battle pack, and it's going to get even better.
It almost had shades of Bathurst 1000 of yesteryear with Whincup, McLaughlin and Tander. Almost a straight repeat of that one there. Highland on the back of Pickett, as well as McMullen. I think McMullen might be the guy in the pack. Hearing Pickett just grazed the inside of the cutting there. Not sure whether the net code, but we will follow that.
Does look like a bit of damage on that car, so I think he did hit it, and if he did, that is not going to be helping him, especially in the front of this queue where all the cars behind him have a big slipstream, and he's just going to be punching a big hole in the air for all of them. So he's very good across the hill. He has opened up about a 0.4 of a second gap to
Run wide
Highland,
there.
but expect these two to close up a lot down Conrod Straight, and look how racy those three cars behind are. Highland, McMullen and Blythe, they're almost nose to tail, and Pickett did not quite get the entry he would have wanted it into Forest Elbow, so
Pulled the gap out a little bit, so he might be able to hold on here, even if he does have a little bit of aero damage there, but definitely needs to be committed across the top just to get this gap out so no threat from behind.
See how brave everyone is under brakes. See if anyone tries anything, and McMullen is going to be that person to try something up the inside of Highland, launches into the curb, all kinds of sideways.
Tries the inside move, can't pull it up.
Has he hurt himself too much to get under attack from Blythe? Blythe thinks about it, but McMullen defending very well, so... As we can see now, it's on once again. It's a hell corner between Ryan and Burden, and almost even more door banging. These two weren't too happy about that contact earlier, and it could be on once again, but Burden with so much straight line speed in that Trans-Tasman racing car. But now we're seeing Ryan beginning to fight back a little bit. It's going to be a war under brakes. Ryan wants to turn in, but Burden's there and gets all kind of sideways.
Very loose. That battle was pretty much done and dusted. Not sure whether Ryan will be able to get back onto the back, or he's run very wide at the cutting there. Almost gone in the fence. Big mistake.
Red mist potentially descending on that 15 car. And I do believe that might be the battle done, as Burden has showed great pace, and if he doesn't have to do any more fuel saving, that's going to be a pretty tough ask to see how that goes. But we are fortunate enough to still have the Pickett, Highland, McMullen and Blythe battle still raging on, and we're seeing these guys closer than have ever been before. Pickett ever so slightly out in front, but Highland and McMullen are nose to tail as they head downhill.
I think McMullen's got the big advantage under brakes, whether his car's really nice, but it doesn't look like he can get the car pulled up. Highland with front end damage on his car. It looks like he's missing a left front panel.
Oh, that was a big slide. Big slide, and that's going to compromise him all the way down Conrod Straight. McMullen is a little bit further back than he has been in previous laps, but he will have a bit of a speed differential with that big slide from Highland, but unless he gets pretty bold under brakes, which we all know he's willing to do, it might not change positions. But there we go, McMullen getting very racy, losing the rear ever so slightly, so has to throw it regardless, takes it to the curb to avoid punting the 29 car, pulls it up, but McMullen getting all kinds of racy, just like Riley Blythe is, who once again wants to get past McMullen, but the door just isn't open for him.
Yeah, I think he's just trying too hard at the moment. Needs to knock it back a few meters, the braking marker. Loosened to turn one. This is a good incentive for Blythe here.
Blythe was very aggressive on the pedal. He wanted to get on that loud pedal as soon as he could, and I think it's worked for him, because look at the speed difference as they head into this headwind up Mountain Straight. That ERT Falcon has so much speed in it, but it's not quite enough to get alongside, but it's going to throw it on the brakes anyway. McMullen very sideways, out in the marbles, out in the grey stuff. Blythe sliding the car through turn 2, but gets the job done. Fantastic move. So Blythe moves up one more spot, and his next target will be Adam Highland, who no longer has to deal with McMullen absolutely hounding him, but McMullen won't be too pleased about being knocked back one position, so we'll see if he can make his charge once more through this battle pack. But Mark Pickett out front is thinking, what on earth is going on behind me?
It's definitely helped Pickett and Highland out a little bit. A little bit of a reprieve. As we're on lap 18, we've only got one more lap of this race to go. It's absolutely flown by.
Certainly has lots of action in this one, and it has not let down at all. And I think it's going to go all the way down to the final lap. Your podium looks to be pretty set, or your top 4 in fact, with Rogers leading by almost 8 seconds ahead of Warren, with Burden further 5 seconds behind, and Ryan slipping almost a second and a half behind now. So This is the battle to watch. Pickett has the gap over Highland. Highland has the gap over McMullen. Over Blythe, sorry, but Blythe does not have the gap over McMullen. Maybe nothing happened into the chase, but this final lap between these two is going to get very interesting. McMullen sliding out of the chase, giving it everything he can, and look at the time Blythe is made up on Highland. Highland too cautious there, and actually this entire pack is pretty much closed up. Pickett has fallen into clutches of Highland a bit as well, so 1 lap to go. Who's your bets on? It's all off.
Sure at the moment. I think Pickett's got him covered, to be fair. Just good enough. Cameron Dance
we're hearing
spun.
unfortunate news. Cam Dance around at the chase and he's trying to gather it up, but he's fallen all the way down into the clutches of Mario Vlasic, who's going to have a look up into the final corner. So
Gone side by side with Hins there, and he's just unfortunately he's just run wide on the grass, and fortunately the grass is not braking zone for Cameron. Fortunate there. Very big lose there.
Back to... So we're just having a look now at that battle once again between Highland, Blythe, McMullen. Pickett is in a new postcode now, and he's checked out. He should be under no threat as long as he gets this downhill section right. But all the pressure is on Highland's shoulders because that ERT Falcon is right behind him. And McMullen is right there in case Blythe tries too hard as well. So, oh, McMullen grazing the wall at the dipper. He's trying too hard, and that potentially could be all Blythe needs to have a bit of safety behind him. But McMullen, very strong. Under brakes DeForest elbow, and Highland's actually escaped from Blythe as well. So that could be all she wrote there.
I think Marlon is the best one out of this group so far.
Have to quickly cut back to
Rogers.
Number 1, Josh Rogers running the final corner. What can you say? An absolute dominant display there from the TTL esports car. He takes victory ahead of Dane Warren, who will take P2 with Jake Burton just a little bit behind. Warren actually losing a bit of time on that final lap, but nothing to worry second place, as it's all on at the moment.
We're hearing Highland's off the track.
Highland's off the track, and it's all going to be between Blythe and McMullen into the final corner. It looks like Blythe might have him covered. Oh, a big slide though, and that could give an incentive to McMullen. Not quite enough time to get it done. But what has happened to Adam Highland? It was looking all so good for so long, but he's fallen even behind Corey Preston all the way down to P number 10. That is a nightmare.
So, see if we can get a cut price racing replay of that one.
Oh, so that was Blythe going up the inside into the chase. Very optimistic.
Big
and
move.
Highland just tried to shut the door on him a little bit. They were both already beginning to get a bit sideways. So that's a hard one to call. An aggressive move from Blythe, but both cars just on the final lap fighting for all they possibly can. So Blythe locking up there, but tough call to make on the final lap, and unfortunate for Adam Highland because he was doing so well at that point, but unfortunately it's going to be P10 for him. But what a race, Jared.
Definitely entertaining.
So we'll run through our grid as all cars have now crossed the line bar one. So taking victory, it was Joshua Rogers. Dominant display out front from 10 seconds ahead of second place Dane Warren. Jake Burton managed to get past Brad Ryan in the dying laps to take P3, with Ryan coming home P4, with Mark Pickett managing to hold on to P5, with his teammate behind in P number 6. McMullen had that big fight all race with Kurt Stenberg behind, and Corey Preston and Adam Highland will round out the top 10.
Got Brian Borg rounding out P11, Chris Coxhead in 12th, Thomas Hins 13th, Mike Taliancic 14th, Zach Baker in 15th, Jason Quire in 16th, Mario Vlasic in 17th, we've got 18th, Cameron Dance, 19th, Putra, we'll just call him that, and Jose Bula in 20th. Fortunately for all the other guys, we've got 12 people who fortunately had some sort of issues.
Yep, so quite a few guys a lap down there, but not hard to do around a circuit as tough as Mount Panorama. So lots of casualties claimed tonight, but some good racing in there as well, as we so often see in this official series. And man, it's going to be a great race next week.
No idea what the track is next week, unfortunately.
It's going to be Brands Hatch, so that's going to be a very tight circuit, very confined for these 650 horsepower beasts. But apart from that, it's going to be pretty spectacular for those guys. But for us at V8 Online, our next broadcast will be happening on Wednesday for the Oceanic Sprint Championship. They'll be held at Road Atlanta, a very popular circuit for those GT3 cars. So on behalf of myself and Jared, we'll be seeing you then. Thanks for watching, guys.